Sunday recap after conference championship Sunday. Kevin Bunk, Michael Merlo coming to you every week. Only 1 week left of the football game. That is 2 weeks from now, the Super Bowl between the Eagles and Chiefs. Great games yesterday, great game yesterday, but overall I think a good conference championship Sunday, all things considered. You can typically get 2 blowouts in those games or 2 pretty stale games. You had a great one at night, and then you had the average at best Commanders-Eagles game. But we're just going to start right away with the Bills and Chiefs. What are you sitting here today as your takeaway for this game? Because all I hear on the radio all morning is refs, 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 refs. Are you in that line, or where are you with it?
No, I'm not refs. It's more like I think what we've thought all season long is the Chiefs, no matter what, late in these games, Kevin, they're great. When the games get tight and it's late in the fourth quarter, there's nobody else you'd rather have than Patrick Mahomes and those players. There's no coach you'd rather have than Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo on the other side. So this is just the Chiefs. This is just what they do in the postseason. And my thought waking up this morning is like, man, I feel bad for Josh Allen. I mean, I legitimately feel bad for Josh Allen. I know you may not feel the same way, but I certainly feel bad for Allen. I didn't have them in this game. You know that I had the Chiefs, but I really do. I feel for Allen here.
The thing that separates the Chiefs from everybody else is these 2 coaches, Spagnuolo and Reid, do not mess up a call in a big spot. You can say Mahomes makes all the plays, and he does, but for the most part, so does Allen in these big spots. So I don't think that that's their real advantage in this game. The coaches don't screw anything up, and on the other side, Joe Brady was not good in critical down play calling. The tush push right out of the gate did not work for Buffalo. And you can argue about the 4th and 1 that didn't go the Bills' way all you want, but it was a bad call. And James Cook, when he was the one getting the ball consistently, the Chiefs were really struggling on defense. So I don't understand why they didn't just give him a total workhorse kind of night against Kansas City. He should have gotten the ball way more. I can't blame any of this on Allen. You can't really blame any of this on the players for Buffalo. Tough drop at the end of the game by Kincaid. Has to be caught. But at the end of the day, I look at the coaches here, and I think the Chiefs just have such an advantage in big spots where not only the Bills, but almost no other team has the ability to win every play call in big spots like that.
You know, Romo, I didn't think Romo had a great night, but there were a couple of things he got right yesterday. Romo had right out of the half when the Bills made the stop and they got the ball, Romo says, oh, this is going to be, you're going to see the Bills start to run the ball. And I think they ran the ball like 10 plays on that drive. It was just working with Cook and a little bit with Allen. And then he also said, I think this might have been even in the first half when they tried to run a tush push. He says Allen likes to go to that left side A gap, and the Chiefs are going to be ready for it. He called it out multiple times, and every single time they tried to run the tush push, he went to that same spot. It's almost as if somebody from the Chiefs told Romo, hey, watch for this. This is going to happen. He goes to this side every single time, and they were ready for it. So, and I texted you mid-game, why the hell are they trying to go back to the tush push? I'm okay with being aggressive, going for it on 4th down, doing whatever you have to do, but running the same play when they know exactly where it's going to go, and they didn't even try and get them to jump off sides until maybe the 4th or 5th tush push. Mind-boggling from a guy that's had a great year in Brady.
The Chiefs, too, everyone, I heard a lot of people all week saying Kansas City doesn't want to get into a shootout with Buffalo. You want to keep this low scoring. You want to control time of possession, control the game on the ground. And I firmly disagreed with that all week. I don't think Kansas City cares what style they have to win with. They just know how to. And we see that last night. I'm not going to call this game a complete shootout, but it wasn't low scoring. Kansas City, every time they need to score, they move. You blink and they're in the red zone. So this is not a team that I think Philadelphia, and we'll talk about the Super Bowl later, but that I think Philadelphia can step in and just say, if we score 24, we're going to win because our defense is great. No way. The Chiefs, they play one play at a time, one drive at a time, and they are so great at moving the ball up the field when they have to, man.
It's just that they flip a switch. It's like, all right, we're gonna score here. Like, we want to score a touchdown here. And by the way, I thought they were very run heavy last night. They really wanted to establish the run. I mean, I was jotting things down watching the game. One thing I had in all caps: stop running the ball up the middle with Kareem Hunt. It's not working. There were like 4 or 5 straight plays, out of 7 where they're running the football right up the middle. They clearly wanted to establish the run last night, and I mean, it worked. They had them on their heels, and Mahomes played a good game. I don't think a great game. They played good enough to win the football game.
Exactly. And that's all they needed to do. And the defense comes through big in every big playoff game. Buffalo, we have not seen Buffalo struggle to score like that all year long. And they
went on runs.
They didn't necessarily struggle, but you could see, like, even the touchdown drives, they were not easy. They didn't have that easy 2-3 play explosive drive that they would have had in the regular season or that they had last week against Baltimore or against Denver. They just didn't have those. For Allen here, we talked a lot last week about how does this affect his legacy and his outlook. Now 0-4 against Mahomes. He's never won a road playoff game. I don't think he's going to get the knocks, though, because everyone's so focused on the officiating. First of all, I don't think Allen deserves the knocks. So let me say that. Don't think he really deserves to get shredded for this. But the officiating has been such a focus. It's nauseating, but it's where everybody's mind is at.
It's annoying because, especially for a team that is so good and is on such an amazing run that the Chiefs are on, like, you know what? Did the Patriots get some calls when they were going on their runs? Sure. Do the Chiefs get some calls? Sure, they get some calls, but it's not the reason why they're winning the game. I'll tell you, the one call I could not stand that I really had a problem with was the Worthy catch.
That's the one that was an incompletion.
That's an incompletion. When it's that close, and the ball actually hits the ground, can we just call that a wash? Even though, I think Gene Steratore, how useless is Gene Steratore? I mean, come on. I mean, what are we doing? It's almost like they got to force it in. Tony's just going, Gene, what do you think there? Like, come on, enough. We don't need to pay Gene Steratore whatever the hell he's making.
He's making over $2 million with CBS right now.
That is wild.
And he's doing NFL every week with this crew, and he's on a couple other games on call, and he's doing March Madness now. I could be wrong. I've never looked into it. I don't think I ever saw Gene Steratore referee a basketball game in my entire life. But he's doing March Madness for CBS.
Is there officiating college? You could get a certification for every sport.
He's so useless. You're right. It's so useless.
And it's so funny. Like last night, I forget exactly what the call was, whatever they were going over, and just Tony goes, Gene, what did you think there? We're just trying to get him involved. Like, we don't need him involved. But yeah, that's the play I seriously had an issue with. But other than that, what were bad calls? What were missed? What was called on the Bills that shouldn't have?
Am I nuts? Was that 4th and 1 not absolutely conclusive? I don't know how everyone's sitting here saying, how is this not a first down? How is that was not this get. I don't even see the ball in the angles that are lined up with the first down.
I can't see the ball, and his back is his back is where the football should be. His back is to the first down line. So he wasn't able to reach the ball over his back like that. If he did that, you would have saw it. He never did that. I did not think so. And people can't go by the yellow line because the yellow line is not always correct. So listen, I didn't think he got it. You didn't. But
I at least was at the point with that where I said whatever they called on the field has to stand, because I just didn't have a clear view of either. I wasn't totally sure it wasn't a first down, but I also wasn't totally convinced it was.
The entire world thought that he got it. I did not think that.
And if Mahomes had ran that same play and didn't get it, same outcome, everything goes the same way, we're not having this discussion today at all about that didn't go. It just is what it is, because everyone wants to see the Chiefs lose this game so bad. But where was I going to go with my next thought before? You know what they were doing that was great last night? Kansas City, obviously a Spags thing that he's emphasizing, was when they shoot that gap, usually Tranquil on the right side and Bolton on the left of Allen. And you see how they were turning his shoulders the second they got to him. Tranquil had a great one where he went over the top and flipped Allen's shoulders.
Really? I
It's just
didn't see this.
if you rewatch them, that's the emphasis point. There's no attempt by Bolton or Tranquil really to stop Allen's momentum. They're just getting right to his shoulder pads and turning his body so he can't reach for the first.
Right.
And that's the stuff that is the margin of difference that I believe is created by the coaching staff that Kansas City ends up winning on, because you don't have other teams doing that. We just have other teams with, like, I'm curious to see how this plays out against Philly next week, because Philly runs it better than anybody. It's their play. The Chiefs stop it better than anybody. They just shut Allen down on it all night. But Philly is different with the tush push. I'm curious to see who wins that battle. I'm sure it'll be a little bit of both. Or if Philadelphia watches what Buffalo did, and I'm sure that this won't happen, but they might be a little hesitant to run it automatically on those short yardage situations, especially on fourth down.
They get such a push. It's just completely different.
It is.
You know, they don't get the same push Buffalo does that Philly does on that play. The one thing I'll say, you talk about the difference, and the difference is Reed and Spagnuolo really compared to what the Bills have. It's funny because when you're watching the players on the field and you're watching the game, I can't tell who the better team is, you know, just players, you know what I mean? They're so even. And it sucks for Allen because it's not on him. It's not on any player. It's just, they had a better game plan? Was it this? I'll tell you one thing, Kevin. Early on, a couple of those drops on the first drive from the Bills, the reckless throws, even Mahomes took a couple of reckless sacks early on. I'm like, wow, this is like a very uncharacteristic game for the way the two teams had played all season to have now, but no turnovers.
Yeah, none. And crazy that 5 fumbles in the game. There were 5 fumbles that were lost in the game, like
covered.
Forced. Bills recovered all of them.
Yeah.
And 3 of them were their own, or 4 of them were their own that they just jumped on. But yeah, that was a great game. That game was a close second, I think, to that division round game from 2022.
Felt like it.
It did. Or was that 2021? Because the Rams and Bengals went. But what I'm curious now with Kansas City is, at what point are Kelsey and Reed done? Is it possibly next Sunday? Because I don't think Reed's done next Sunday. I think Kelsey has an outside chance. I do think they're both back next year. But once that happens, the AFC gets very interesting, because Mahomes goes from having the ultimate advantage around him to, you know what, you have Spags as your head coach or Matt Nagy as your head coach. You're at least on par with the rest of the teams now.
I wrote this down because I don't know if you saw Chris Jones after the game, I think on ESPN, and he had said he had said something about I think the interviewer asked him, you know, how long can you keep this going? And he literally opens it up with, well, as long as these teams keep passing on Spags, this is going to continue. And it's funny, it got me thinking. There's no reason for Spags to take any other job. There's zero reason. He stays here. I'm sure he's the highest paid defensive coordinator. And the second Reed leaves, 10,000% he'll be the guy. I mean, those guys love him in that locker room. They respect him. I think we're at a point with Mahomes. Like, yes, Reed is an advantage for him, but he's going to know everything that Reed wants. You know, in certain situations, Mahomes is going to be like, this is what Andy would want to do. Of course, they're going to miss him on the sideline, but I think they're just going to they're going to have Spagnuolo step right in, and it's going to be a seamless transition for them. There's no reason for him to take any other job. He stays there, and it's a perfect situation for them. They got lucky here with Spags, man.
Definitely did. The only thing I worry about is the player development and the critical play calling without Andy Reid on the offensive side. I'm sure that the player development defensively stays strong, and the play calling obviously stays strong. But can Matt Nagy and the coaching staff they have there actually develop at the rate that Reid does?
Right.
Interesting, but it's conversation for another day.
Spags would be your guy, right? Like Spags would be the guy.
Yeah, I think he'd have to be. I don't think that you would really. I think he's earned it too. I don't think you'd leapfrog Nagy for him, and I think Nagy would be happy with becoming the play caller for the Kansas City Chiefs. Potentially get another job if he has success calling plays for them.
Mhm.
That's still a path for him to be a head coach. But the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl, looking for the three-peat. And
Do you hate
Mahomes,
them? Do
no, I
you
don't.
hate them like the rest of the world does?
I
I
don't
don't.
know. I was just gonna say, Mahomes now, it feels like he's just separated himself so much by winning again this year,
Mhm,
and he's the second best quarterback of all time if he's not your first,
mhm.
and you can't justify anyone else that's ever played quarterback except maybe Montana. Maybe I'll give you Montana, but they're likable. I think that they're likable, and people are just hating on them for reasons that don't make a ton of sense to me. The only one that I think Chiefs fatigue is valid.
Yeah.
Like, you want to see new teams, you want to see new champions. That's fair, especially coming off the heels of Brady, where we didn't see new champions anyways. So we had the Patriots fatigue. You thought you were out of that era, and now you have Chiefs fatigue. But that's kind of how the NFL's always been.
They're
The
fun.
dynasty league. I think they're
They're
fun.
to be able to watch a guy that, we watch Brady and we say nobody's ever going to be better than Brady. Nobody will win 7 championships, right? Like, that was the thought process. And now we have a guy that's going to win his 4th in 2 weeks, and we're going to be sitting here saying, "Oh my God, this guy has a legitimate shot at being the greatest player of all time, going to break most likely Brady's." I mean, I think if he gets to 5, I'm then willing to say, as long as the numbers continue to go the way they're going, he gets to 5, I'll say he's the greatest of all time. He gets within
Okay.
2 of Brady's 7 and continues to put up the counting stats. I'm good. That's my guy. He can be my GOAT.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Right now, I have Brady there,
100%.
but
100%.
Mahomes is
5.
obviously trending in a case. I'm not going to sit here and do the MJ boomer conversation with LeBron and be like, "You didn't see him play. He was amazing. He was the greatest." Like, Brady's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because I watched him play at this level that Mahomes is playing at when Brady was 44 and win a Super Bowl. But why can't Mahomes have the same success in his career as Tom Brady at this point? There's no way to possibly argue that Mahomes isn't on that track. I heard an interesting justification for Brady yesterday that I don't think that many people talk about. But what about, and I disagree with it, but I'm just curious your thoughts.
Mhm.
People were saying, look at the quarterbacks in Brady's era that he had to go up against. There were far more than Mahomes, because you had Manning, you had Roethlisberger, you had Rivers, you had Eli in the NFC, Breeze, Rodgers, Favre, all these guys. But I think Mahomes goes up against a pretty good group of competition in the AFC. And the reason none of them are on the level of Manning, Roethlisberger, etc., is because he doesn't let them get to the Super Bowl.
Right. A couple of guys, 8 in the AFC. There was 10 years where there was a different champion. The Patriots didn't win one. So 100%. I mean, you're going to have a 3-time MVP. You're going to have a guy that's actually beaten him in Burrow, and Allen, who is the consensus second best quarterback in the league, arguably better than Mahomes statistically this season. It's remarkable. You know what's crazy about the two as well? Go look at, it's interesting. I've looked at the Pro Football Reference pages a lot, comparing Mahomes and Brady. Go look at Brady. People say, oh, Mahomes has had a couple of down seasons. In the middle, Brady had a couple of down seasons. But, where just statistically, he wasn't an MVP. He wasn't as good as a couple of other years. This is normal. You see different players on different sides of the ball leave because of cap restraints. The receivers aren't there right now for Mahomes. Would it surprise me next season if Mahomes gets Rice back, Worthy develops, they have Marquise Brown and another year at Kelsey, and he throws 45 touchdown passes, 5,000 yards, and is the MVP? That's not going to shock me. It's a very similar look at the middle. There's a couple of down years from Brady, whether he was hurt, whether it was just the talent wasn't there on the outside, doesn't matter. He's gonna put up numbers.
And for Brady, people also tend to forget those first 5 years of his career, he wasn't the consensus statistical dominant quarterback that he had 2 top 3 MVP finishes, but he never threw 30 touchdowns until 2007 when he threw 50. So it wasn't this explosion of offense from Brady that we've seen from him in most of his career. But then he has a couple of those middle years. Yeah, I mean, you play long enough at this high level on these great teams, you're not going to throw 35, 40 touchdowns a year, 5,000 yards, and be the MVP every season. That's not how it goes. It's not basketball where you can keep up your numbers on a year-to-year basis at 30 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. It's much easier to do in a sport like basketball in your prime. But Mahomes, man, I mean, this guy's great. And the competition, am I absolutely crazy to say that there's an argument to be made to prefer Josh Allen over some of the guys that we say Brady went against? I'd rather have Allen than Roethlisberger. I'd rather have Allen than, you can put Allen in the same class as Manning because Manning had the regular season stats. And of course, these guys had 20-year careers that were great. So if I'm starting a franchise today, I'm taking them. But in a year-to-year basis, when we're talking competition, Allen's the first quarterback in NFL history, first player in NFL history to have 30 touchdowns 5 years in a row. I mean, this is not a pushover. And then we get to the playoffs, and he's not getting killed. He got blown out once in the postseason. You could say twice if you want to count the Bengals win over them a few years ago. But once in the playoffs was that first conference championship to Mahomes. Allen is an all-time great. And so is Lamar Jackson. And Joe Burrow is going to be one of those guys that has a gold jacket if he stays healthy. And that we talk about forever as like, if he doesn't win a ring, he's our Dan Marino. He was great. He was a great passer. He was maybe the best pocket passer in the league. He just couldn't win a ring. The team was never good enough. He went early in his career. That's exactly the Dan Marino timeline. These guys are great players. They are all-time great players.
From Dan Orlovsky, in playoff history, teams to score 3+ touchdowns in a turnover-free game are 140 and 19. Josh Allen is the only QB with multiple such losses, and he has 3 of them, all against the Chiefs in the last 3 years. So,
Jeez.
This is a tortured franchise. This is a quarterback that it's not him that can't get over the hump. It just feels like it's the franchise. 100%. I had a question asked to me yesterday. If you were starting a franchise today in the NFL, who would you take, Allen or Mahomes? And I would take Allen. And I would take Mahomes. But I understand the Allen argument. I do. I would take Mahomes. I don't think it's like, for me, it's not close. You can argue it. Allen's a great player. He does a lot of things that even that Patrick Mahomes can't do. For me, it's Mahomes. But you want to say Allen, you could say Allen. He's that good. He's that good.
Allen's that great. I think that when you look at the quarterbacks in the league and you break them up into tiers, there's Mahomes and Allen are almost 1A, 1B. And then you have Burrow, who I actually think is pretty close to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's a pretty big gap. And then you have Lamar, and I think Jaden Daniels might have inserted himself. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And then an even bigger gap to the next group. Sorry, Justin Herbert lovers, Michael Merlo. But he's probably right around next in the group.
Yeah.
But there's a big drop-off there. But those quarterbacks, those first 3 and then those first 5, I think these are great, great franchise players. And they maybe don't get enough respect because in the AFC, I mean, Daniel's just entering the league here in the NFC, but in the AFC, how do you...
Nobody has a shot.
You can't knock these guys for losing to Mahomes. And I was sitting there yesterday. This has to be the greatest head coach QB duo ever. Only because you now have the best head coach in the league and the best quarterback in the league, both offensive-minded. And once again, the gap between Andy Reid and Sean McVay is, I think, bigger than the gap between Belichick was and the guys coaching while he was there. Andy Reid being one of them. The gap, no knock on Belichick, but Reid is just the only real senior legend coach in the league right now. There aren't other guys to compete with him, and there aren't other coach-quarterback duos with the offensive ability that they have to really compete with Mahomes and Reid. Then
Spags, and then Spags on the defensive side. That blitz on the 4th down play that the Kincaid drops. I mean, out of nowhere.
He's had that in his pocket all year.
That exact play, for that exact moment right there on a 4th down where he knows Allen. He knows it's going to be Allen, and he knows Allen's going to need it. And by the way, Allen had Shakir on the other side as like a safety blanket. He was like running around in the back before pre-snap. He's open. I don't know if he gets the first. It's going to be really close because there's a backer right there or a secondary play over there. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get the first down. But he would have had to throw it across his body. It would have been a weird throw. What a play. What a play.
It was, I think, what was I going to say? I lost my track of thought again. What were we talking about right before? Oh, Spags. The blueprint for these coaching staffs is kind of out right now when you look at the Super Bowl. Offensive head coach with a credible offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And a defensive coordinator that I think Robert Saleh might have jumped them, but 2 highest paid defensive coordinators in the NFL, both as, and now Shanahan going right back to that formula with Saleh, but both guys, both situations are really good offensive coaches with defensive coach that has failed as a head coach, but proven their worth time and time again as a coordinator, and you prioritize getting them. That's the best blueprint for coaches. Now, I understand we talk a lot of, we talked a lot about coaching the last 2 weeks. You have guys like Mike Vrabel, guys like Aaron Glenn. I understand that for those coaches, now Josh McDaniels maybe falls under the umbrella, but for those coaches and the teams that hire them, sometimes you can't get Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen. Sometimes you can't make that hire in your cycle, which I don't even think is going to work out, that stuff. But
really,
again, that blueprint, though, that's the blueprint. Like the Bears have the blueprint. Now it has to work.
Senior defensive coordinator. Maybe he's been a head coach, well-respected guy. Yeah. And Vic Fangio is going to give the Chiefs some issues. He's definitely going to give them some issues here. It's going to be a tight game. I can't wait for the Super Bowl, but you're 100% right. And Spags deserves a ton of credit for this. He does, because the defense, especially during the season, was a strength for them. When the offense wasn't rolling, it was a major strength for them, and it got them to a place that they are right now, which is, 15-2 and the number 1 seed, and home field advantage meant a lot last night, I think. And, they're in this spot because of him as well. It's credit to him.
Yeah, and once again, the home field advantage meant a lot last night. I'm not ripping him, but Josh Allen has never won a road game in the postseason.
Yeah.
And that's just goes to show you how difficult traveling in the AFC is, how difficult traveling in general is. And for Allen, a little bit of a monkey that he has to get off his back, I think, there in winning a road game here. Because
how do you have any hope? If you're a fan of that team, how? Something's going to change?
The worst part is that you traded them the pick for Mahomes. I know that that's resurfacing again, but you traded them the pick. You moved down 17 picks so that the Chiefs could get Mahomes, and then you made the trade with them for Worthy, which I thought was so dumb, because you don't have to like Worthy. You didn't have to want to draft him. You could prefer Coleman there. Coleman's not better, but you could prefer him there. Bottom line is, you don't trade that pick to the Chiefs.
No.
Because then they get their guy. And maybe they would have got him anyways, but you're not responsible for that.
Right. It's for those fans, for Allen, how does Allen go into next season and think this is going to be different? That we're going to go into Arrowhead again in the divisional round or the AFC Championship game, and we're going to have a chance. At this point now, it kind of just feels inevitable that every single year it's going to be the Chiefs. Are they ever yes, they'll probably get their shot. They'll probably break through. Flacco broke through. Roethlisberger, guys ate in the AFC. We mentioned it with Brady, but there's no way he can just continue to go to all these Super Bowls. But at the same time, it makes you think, is he ever going to break through? Is he ever going to break through?
It's tough because I'll bring back Dan Marino in this, and you can bring up like Aaron Rodgers, you can bring up guys like Drew Brees, but players who got to the Super Bowl or won it so early in their career. Marino got there, didn't win it. Rodgers gets there in his second year as a starter. Brees gets there in 2009, these guys gave you a decade of good football after, of great football after. Rodgers giving you 15 years of great football after.
Yeah.
They never got back.
Yeah.
In conferences that weren't as difficult as this one. So you never know, because the reality of quarterback is there's going to be that if you're playing 17, 18 years in the NFL plus, which these guys are going to, God willing, there's going to be the injury season. Whether it's you or your entire team, you're going to have the decimated injury season that's disappointing. It happened to the Patriots when Brady tore his ACL. It happens. You have the teams that don't make it to the finish line. You're going to have the year where, once again, it's just the reality if you look through the eras, where there's going to be a Joe Flacco or Mark Sanchez that rips through your conference playoffs, and you're just going to be like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
So there's not this guarantee that Allen, Burrow, or Lamar ever get to the Super Bowl, or if they even win it. You know, it's not guaranteed. And after this year, you never know if Reed retires. You never know if Mahomes gets back.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point on Mahomes. But to hate on this greatness, and we kind of mentioned it before, you know, it's like I can't, you know, I enjoy watching the greatest of all time. You know, like I'll be able to tell my kids, hey, we watched this in real time and it was special and it was great. Have we ever seen anything like this though? And I don't think the story is told yet. It's not done. If they win 3 straight, that's something we'll be able to put on the list. We've never seen this. And then how much more does this continue? It's almost like the LeBron tweet, that guy that tweeted out from LeBron. He's 30, this effing fuckery won't continue. And now he's 40 and it continued all right. It's gone through. What?
You see him tweet it again?
Yeah, he tweeted it at 40.
40? He's like, thank God this won't go on much longer.
And it's like,
later, he's the best player in the league.
For this, it's Reed retiring. So then you could send the tweet out. All right, Reed retired and Kelsey's gone. This won't continue, and then they'll just go and win 3 straight. It's again, that's what it'll be.
This is so well oiled, man. And it would have been interesting, right, to see in hindsight, like, could Brady, if he lost Belichick in year 9 or 10, what would that have looked like after? Because it probably would have been Bill O'Brien or Josh McDaniels becoming the head coach. What would that have looked like? And then, you know, we don't have that what if, but that's why the Patriots dynasty was so perfect, was because Belichick and Brady were on the same timeline the whole way. The Chiefs, we might look back and just say they weren't on the same timeline there. Great 10-year dynasty.
What could have been?
The Patriots are special because they won 3 in 2 separate decades. So, I mean, food for thought.
Yeah.
Also, AFC Championship game. Do you know the last time you haven't seen an AFC Championship game without Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or Mark Sanchez?
Oh, God. What's the year? I saw this, but I forgot the year.
I believe it was 2006.
Wow.
Because the only years that Brady or Mahomes weren't in it since 2006 were the 2 Sanchez seasons. So you have to merge him into the stat.
Right. Well, it makes sense. Obviously, the same caliber of player as well. You know.
Yeah, just that's the what if Mahomes or Brady ended up with the Jets scenario.
Yeah, right there.
Some early success destroyed by.
I saw that the tweet you sent me this morning of Allen 0-4 on the road, and some guy tweets like on the bottom of it, he's like, only 4 more to catch Sanchez or something like that.
Yeah, need 4 more road wins to catch Sanchez.
It's like Eli, great on the road, man. It's something. It's tough.
And Allen, unfortunately for Allen, typically good on the road. You look back at those games, but obviously not getting the wins there.
He had the one bad game, the 38-21. That was it. Everything else is great.
You want to go
as
here?
Good as you can play.
Eagles commies, then circle back to Chiefs Eagles.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so Eagles commies, really bad game overall. I mean, Eagles kind of just ran them out of the building, literally ran them out of the building, because once it's a 3-score game and Will Shipley's breaking free, it was like, all right, this is ridiculous now.
We could turn this off.
I don't know if I have seen a season by a running back, and I'm not doing what I did last week with the Giants. I'm not even going to loop the Giants into this anymore.
Yeah,
So
there's no need. There's no need anymore. It's done.
I said my piece last week, and it's over. I don't know if I've seen a running back this dangerous, probably since 2014, Adrian Peterson. This is like unlike any other. This is not Derrick Henry's 2019 campaign. This run game with Barkley is so dangerous. Every time he gets the ball, no matter where they are on the field, he has a more than 2 or 3% chance that he's going to score, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. That's a very high probability. It doesn't matter where he is. I think he's got a chance to score. It's insane, Mike.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because even if he's not going to score, he gets that full head of steam, and they're obviously a fantastic offensive line. There's holes, and it's an explosive 7 or 8 yard run. You know what I mean? Like it's never it's very rarely a gain of 1, gain of 2, no gain, something like that. He's got a full head of steam, and he fell forward for 5, or it's a big run for 12. It's almost impossible to stop, especially yesterday. I mean, Washington had no chance in this football game. None. Going in, there was no chance that we're going to win this game. I didn't even think you have a chance to keep it close. And that's what happened. In the 30th ranked rush defense against the best rushing team in football. I mean, that was it. That was done. It was over. Yeah,
Saquon, what's incredible is I thought the last few years he was really tailing off in speed. And you go watch clips. He was mm-hmm. not the breakaway runner we're seeing right now, and we saw in his first 2-3 years in the league. He gets into any open space, he feels like the fastest player in the NFL.
Yes.
Insane burst.
He's fresh, right? He's probably more fresh than he's ever been in his career at this point in a season. He's not taking the amount of hits that he would take, I think, with the Giants, just because the offensive line, he's not getting hit as much. So, and they're very good at, all right, we don't need him here. He gets to take a quarter off last night, so I think they've done a really good job of implementing him and kind of taking a step back. We talked about the Ravens with Henry late in the year. They were like, you really had said it. Like, they're not using Henry. Like, they don't need Henry here. They're not using him. They're saving him. And I thought the Eagles at times, whenever they could get him rest, give him a blow, that they did that. So he's fresh, and he's probably playing with, he definitely is playing with a different intensity I think he's ever played with in his entire career.
Yeah. He's awesome. And
he's fun to watch. I'll give you that. He's fun to watch. It's remarkable.
Now it just takes so much off of Hurts, who is not the quarterback we saw 3 years ago on their last run to the Super Bowl. 2 years ago. He's just not. And it stinks because I like Hurts. I'm a fan of Hurts. I even tweeted this morning, like, we got to give him some respect. All he's done is win in his collegiate and NFL career.
Right.
He's a competitor of the highest standard. You can tell that when he speaks. You can tell that from the moment he was drafted. But their passing offense leaves some to be desired. They make up for it, though, with the best running game in the league. And if they have to throw, I trust that they can get it done. I just don't think that they can get into a real shootout throwing the ball with Kansas City in the Super Bowl, but I don't think they'll have to. The offensive line's great. Kellen Moore's done a great job. I do think Kellen Moore's getting a head coaching job after the Super Bowl with the Saints. I think he grabs that final spot, and he's done an awesome job this year. Vic Fangio, once again, as we mentioned before, you get the veteran coordinator who's proven it time and time again. He's done wonders with this defense. This defense is terrific.
He's probably not leaving either.
No, and he said that. He's I don't know if it was before the season or in the middle of the season. He had an availability, and he said, I have no interest in being a head coach again.
Yeah.
I just want to call defense and probably retire in a few years, and that's it. And he's just doing a great job. And I got to credit Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, all he's done is win. He's 30 games over 500. He's got 2 Super Bowl appearances. He's really toned down his negative antics and behavior since yelling at the fans in week 3 or whenever that was. And Sirianni clearly is beloved in the locker room. If you listen to the post-game interviews, the team loves this guy. And he did a great job recognizing that he needed new coordinators last year, whether he did it or Howie Roseman said, you have to do it. He did a great job diagnosing a problem at the end of a season, bringing in 2 new, very accomplished guys, being able to attract them to your team, And it's been perfect all year long. It really has been. And I have to give him credit, lastly, for the way he handled Saquon Barkley in Week 18, because they're going to the Super Bowl right now. I don't think Barkley's thinking about his rushing record.
No, 100%. That was an easy choice for him. And the one thing too about Hurts, I want to say, and he had said this multiple times. He has said, "I don't care what my numbers look like. I don't care what it looks like. I just want to win." And it's funny when you watch his demeanor, like you talk about. He's a very serious guy, but I'm sure again he's probably beloved in that locker room, especially for saying something like that. He really does just care about winning, and that's what it's all he does. So it's impressive. Again, when we're comparing him to the top quarterbacks in the league, and we are using stats and what we see on the field, he's not my first choice or my second choice. He's not my top 5 or 6. But if we're just talking about winning, like this is what this guy does. And I also like what Sirianni had to say as well after the game. He said, "Show me a quarterback that doesn't win with bleep around him." You need talent around you to win if you're a quarterback in the NFL. And, especially playing in a tough division like they did. They had a 12-game winner in the division. They've had multiple times where the Cowboys were very competitive as well, and they were able to win. So, it's never easy for them, and they're so much more talented than everybody else. Hurts just adds to it, and it's perfect. And people don't think this is an exciting Super Bowl because they hate both teams. Everybody hates Philadelphia, and they hate the Chiefs and Kelsey and Swift, whatever. I think this is an absolutely fantastic Super Bowl matchup.
I think it's one of those rare years where you can sit here and say the two best teams in the league, two best rosters, all around top teams considering health, the way they've played all year, are playing in the final game. And you don't get to say that every year because you have the upsets. You have in baseball, so often we talk about it, like, in the National League, you have the second, third best team there, so only one of them can get in.
Right.
But in football this year, I do believe the two best teams in the entire sport got into the Super Bowl. And that is really exciting. I like the storyline of the rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Would I love to see Detroit play for their first and Lamar play for his first? Yeah, I would love to see that. That would be fun too. But this, if you rip all your biases off and all your unnecessary hatred, this is a perfect Super Bowl matchup, Mike. This is a great Super Bowl matchup.
Teams match up well. It's going to be exciting. Reed again against his former team. Those same storylines. You don't have the Kelsey stuff, which is fun. I think people are happy about that. You don't have to deal with that for 2 weeks because that did get that was much. That was too much. 100% 2 years ago. But yeah, and it's funny. Kelsey has a terrible game. Cost me a lot of money last night, Kelsey. And you don't see Swift. You don't see Taylor Swift. People get so pissed and worked up about seeing Taylor Swift on the broadcast, which I don't give a rat's ass about. But he didn't have a good game last night. You saw her maybe 2 or 3 times last night.
And with other players too. I've said this from the start of the Taylor Swift thing. If whoever you want to say scores a touchdown and their family is within camera range, they typically show them after the score.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift happens to be a part of his family now, and she sits with his family at the games. So not only do you get Taylor Swift, obviously she's the center of attention in the shot, but she's sitting right next to his parents. He's got family in the booth. It's like, come on.
She's also the biggest star in the world right now.
Yeah. If that's what's ruining your experience, man, you got to get your head examined and maybe stop watching football for a little bit because you got something wrong with you. I was listening this morning to Adam Shine's first hour, and he said, how rare is it that the entire country, for the most part, is rooting for a Philadelphia sports team to win a championship? I'm not rooting for them. I'm not even rooting for the Chiefs. I don't really care who wins this, but he's right.
You have to be a sick individual to do this.
Philly is in the biggest favor they'll ever be in a sporting event.
Yeah. You have to, again, I'll never do it. I mean, I did root for them yesterday. I had money on them, but in this one, I mean, there's no chance. I don't understand it from like a, you don't have a rooting interest in either team. You don't have a division rival. Like if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan or you're a Jets fan, like how are you root? Like I don't understand how you could root for a team from Philadelphia. I just don't. I don't get it. You see how these people are.
Yeah, I could just care less about either team's outcome. I prefer Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is probably my favorite rooting interest figure in this matchup because I do like seeing him win. But I'm going to think it's cool if Hurts and Sirianni win because I do like the Eagles roster. I think it's going to be cool if Barkley wins. I also think it's going to be cool if the Chiefs three-peat. I think those are both really interesting outcomes. Now, for you as a Giants fan and a devoted Giants fan, because I see AFC East fans yesterday rooting for Buffalo, which is ferocious.
Crazy.
Patriots fans, where are we at here? I know you don't want your dynasty getting hurt, but let me tell you something. It already is. The conversation is already existing. So why would you root for the Bills in this game? I had a friend text me. He might be watching right now. I don't understand why Jets fans hate the Bills. What? They're the biggest rival in the division.
Right.
I've been competing with them at the bottom for 20 years of Brady. He leaves. They get the second best quarterback in the league? No, they don't get to go win their Super Bowl.
I'm not happy for them. I'm not rooting for them. Yeah, I get that. You know what's funny? When I watch sports, I think when a lot of people watch sports, right? It's you get to see something maybe you've never seen before, right? That's why people watch sports, right? That's why baseball's so special. And that's why I don't think the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Again, a discussion for the Burrows. But yeah, you want to watch something that you've never seen before. And the Chiefs give you that ability every single week that there's going to be something you've never seen before. And it's going to be so freaking cool. And there's a higher percentage that it's the Chiefs that are going to do it. And they give you a chance here now, winning 3 straight Super Bowls, so difficult. They give you a chance to watch that, and I can't wait for it. I mean, how many teams do we see have that Super Bowl fatigue, Kevin, where they start off the year slow, and then it was, they just never really picked it up, like the 49ers this year. Yep. Injuries, fatigue, this, that, not that great. Like, to get back, they're back 3 straight seasons. And they have a chance to win their 3rd in a row. Remarkable.
You think about all the people that are older than us, the generation older than us, our parents, our grandparents that love football. They come and they talk to you about the great Steelers teams. Even if you're lucky enough to know someone who loved the Lombardi Packers teams, loved watching them when they came on TV. Or you hear stories about Namath or about Montana and Rice and Lawrence Taylor and all these guys, and you hear about Buffalo going 4 times, and it's such a highly regarded history.
Mm-hmm.
Are you really going to sit here 40 years from now, and when your grandson who loves football or your son who loves football asks you what it was like to watch Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to say, oh, well, they got every call from the refs. If that's what you're going to say, you're a sorry person. I pity you if that's your takeaway from what we're watching here. You don't have to enjoy it in the moment. You could root for some other players, but I'm going to talk about Brady in a positive light, and I hate the New England Patriots. I hate them. I'm going to talk about him positively. I'm going to talk about Belichick positively. I'm going to talk about the Chiefs positively. I'm going to talk about Peyton Manning positively, Aaron Rodgers positively, because these are guys that watching football and watching sports, no one's really like them. They're one of one. They're very unique. And even the guys like Brady, Manning, Mahomes, they all have their unique traits. They all have their one thing that is different. And to watch Mahomes do this, man, I think it's special. I think it's a cool thing. And maybe it's easy for us to say because our teams aren't in the mix with them. And it's not like we're sitting here losing to KC every year. But I think this is something that people are over-hating to just an ultimate extent.
And obviously to the Bills fans and the teams in their divisions, of course, you're not going to root for them. You're not going to want them to win. Bengals, Ravens, you're eliminated by this team every year. Fine. You don't, you could hate, you do whatever the hell you want. I don't care because I would be doing the same thing probably. But to take away from their greatness, it's to go out on social media and, on shows and just they're lucky. Oh, they get calls. They get this. That's not the case. That's not the case. It's fake news.
And this is the model. This is what you want your football team to be. Great quarterback, great coach, great situational football. And if you're a Bills fan, I get it's frustrating, but if you cannot look at the Buffalo Bills yesterday and diagnose the real reasons why they lost, not because of a 4th and 1 that didn't go their way, not because Xavier Worthy his call didn't get overturned. Dalton Kincaid had a huge drop. Joe Brady missed a bunch of critical play calling situations that he's been great in all year. And he misses them yesterday. And he kept going to the well with that tush push and the Allen design runs that didn't work instead of going to James Cook. If you can't diagnose the problems with your team in every one of these Chiefs losses, because you didn't lose last year because Tyler Bass missed a field goal. Tyler Bass missed a field goal with 1:40 left in that game.
Yeah.
Chiefs were winning.
Yeah, Chiefs going to win that game.
It was a 3-point game. You think Mahomes couldn't across midfield and tie that game? He did it against you with 13 seconds left. Why can't he do it with 1:40? So I don't think you can sit here today, and there's nobody who can sell me on the refs. And no team wins this much because of the refs. It was the same thing with New England. Yeah, they had their moments. They had their tuck rule moments. They had some flags that probably shouldn't have been thrown or should have gone the other way, and they didn't. But they won 6 Super Bowls and went to 9 or 10. No, they went to 9. Brady went to 10. You think that it was all because of the refs? Come on.
Let's get over this. Enough's enough.
Since 2019, the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl 4 times. The refs don't matter if a team could step up and actually beat them by 2 or 3 scores. Refs don't play a role in that. Nobody's been able to do it. Nobody's been able to step up and beat them by 2 or 3 scores. They don't get blown out. They're in every game. And when it matters most, late in the 4th, they're the team that comes away with the win.
And on 3rd down yesterday, 3rd and 8, I forget exactly what it was, to clinch it. Did you have any doubt they weren't getting that? Like you knew they were getting that 1st down, and it was a great play. Shamash Perine, they didn't touch the ball all game.
No,
all game.
And he's out there, and you're saying, okay, they're not going to hand it off to him because he hasn't touched it all game.
You knew they were throwing. I thought they were throwing.
I thought there was a slight chance they handed it off, but there was still too much time on the clock to do that because you would have given the Bills the ball back down 6 with close to a minute.
Yeah,
and I still don't love that scenario for yourself. So you go for the pass, and either way, you're probably going to get the field goal there. And of course, it works out because the Chiefs understand how to play situational football. I also think you see Buffalo getting stuffed on 2-point conversions all night. You see teams struggling all postseason on 2-point conversions. Chiefs 0 for 2 on 2-point conversions in the regular season. Easy 2-point conversion yesterday.
Yep,
to go up 7 late in the game. They just understand how to execute in the big spots. And what's most impressive to me is these last few years, the great tweet last night, I think Trey Wingo said it, the 2022 Chiefs draft class has never felt a playoff loss. They've only gone undefeated in the postseason every year.
That's crazy.
And they're good classes. Brett Veach has done it, and most of it's Andy Reid, but they've done a great job with scouting, developing, and drafting. But the rookies are playing like veterans in these spots. You see other teams where that doesn't happen. Xavier Worthy has matured. It's not even believable how much he's matured
and
since
he's
we drafted him.
Legitimate weapon that they've needed to step up, and he has done so all postseason, all late throughout the season. So give credit to him as well.
Have you ever watched the game from George Karlaftis or Trent McDuffie or Creed Humphrey and said, oh my God, yeah, this guy's a young player. He's got to get adjusted to the playoffs. Welcome to the playoffs. You never said that about any of these guys.
All pro guys. All pro guys.
And even all pro guys, when they show up in the postseason, sometimes year 1 or 2, they get the bad flag. They get a frustration penalty after the whistle, the fumble. These guys, no. You feel like they've been doing this for 9, 10, 11 years at the highest level, and they're in the playoffs every year, and they get it. It's just unbelievable how ready this team is and how mature this team is to play. I can finish glazing them now, but this is just how good they are, man.
And to Allen, I'll give him credit here, where it looked like he was a little jumpy early. He settled in, and when he had to, made some big throws. You know, the throw to Hollins, The throw to Samuel in the back of the end zone where he was open. That wasn't an easy throw to make. He had to get it over a couple of defenders. He gets it to him. There were a couple of big-time throws that he made in this game, so give him credit as well.
Yep. It stinks for Allen. It stinks for Lamar. It stinks for Burrow. One other thing. Can we cut the crap with the Burrow narrative on Twitter? Every tweet, Joe Burrow would have won. Joe Burrow would have done this. It's not the AFC championship without Joe Burrow. They have been in the playoffs as many times as the Cleveland Browns the last 5 years. I don't sit here and say, conference championship Sunday, just not the same without Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow. Come on, man. I got to see every tweet that he's the Mahomes stopper. He's 1-1 against them in the postseason. Mahomes has every Super Bowl imaginable. Burrow has been to one and lost. He's a great player. End the narrative. Allen could beat Mahomes too. He just hasn't.
I completely agree with you. It doesn't make sense. Again, they win that big game, in Arrowhead. Okay. And it's something that Allen has never done. That's fine. But Allen's better. I think Allen's a better player, and I did find it funny, especially early in the postseason when I did see that. Doesn't feel like the postseason without Joe Burrow. Not Joe Burrow's fault, but he plays for a crappy organization that he tied himself to, by the way, for the next 5 years, okay? He tied himself to that crappy organization that has done nothing but disappoint in their franchise's history. I mean, literally, the definition of underachieving and disappointing, that's what the franchise is. So, yeah, Burrow, take him out. Take him out of the equation because the Bengals are a joke. Burrow is not. The Bengals are, though.
Exactly. And until they get serious and they're back to playing great defense and actually performing at the level of Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar and their respective teams, even like right now, Cincinnati, Mike, I have trouble even putting them in a top 7 spot in the AFC because you have the teams that made the playoffs this year. You could maybe drop like Pittsburgh from it and say you want Cincinnati over Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati in the regular season every year. So you can't even put them there, but they're just not on the level or the trajectory of the Chargers, of the Broncos, the structure there just feels so much better. And then, of course, the division winners with Houston, Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, those teams all feel much better with their stability. And there's always going to be another team or two that is right there with Cincinnati, like Miami, like the Jags, like Indianapolis. They're always going to be there in the mix. Maybe New England starts to jump in now with Vrabel. It's just the Bengals. Burrow feels like the one, and it's easy to say because he didn't make the playoffs, but he feels like the one out of these 4 guys that definitely isn't getting the ring. It feels like he's window Marino. Passed. He is Marino for us, and his window passed, and we can talk about how great he was and how fun the offense was, but his window might have closed. I hope he wins one, but he definitely feels like the guy already has had the most injury problems out of the group. Worst head coach. Feels like the guy that's going to end up with the short end of the stick, definitely in this group.
It's funny. It makes sense. He could be Marino. And then if you want to compare the classes of Brady and Mahomes, like the quarterbacks they have to go against, Allen is Peyton. I mean, it's perfect. Allen is Peyton in this scenario.
Yep.
And he'll probably get 1 or 2, and he's a fantastic regular season player, but maybe doesn't have that same success in the postseason. We've seen it thus far. That could change. That narrative can completely change. But it's interesting. I don't know who Lamar is. There's no comparison.
Well, Lamar could be, and this is such a nonsense conversation, but we enjoy having it.
It's fun.
But Lamar could be Peyton, if you think about it. He's the one that comes up shorter in the postseason. Allen is almost Roethlisberger because he's physically just the massive, tough to bring down guy. Totally different because Roethlisberger didn't run like Allen. Yeah. But he doesn't win the MVPs. Postseason, he shows up. But he ends up on the short end as well. But Roethlisberger broke through and made 4 Super Bowls. Whereas, I could see Allen doing that. Allen could go on a run, making Super Bowls, winning 2 of them. For Lamar, maybe more of a Manning situation where his teams have to show up in the postseason in order for him to get there. He
MVPs.
Yeah, he's got the MVPs. I don't know. But it's a similar group of symmetry. The NFC just doesn't have the guys that were playing at the same time. They don't have Favre, Rodgers, Breeze, Manning in their side of things. So
wow, you threw Eli in there.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer this weekend, so you got to throw him in
so?
there. Yeah, I do think he's
so?
in this week.
There's been a lot of pushback on that,
Listen,
a lot of people pushing back.
I've spoken to you about this briefly before. I don't think we've ever had the conversation. We just kind of talked about it a little bit. I don't believe in first ballot, second ballot, third ballot stuff. I just think if you think a guy's a Hall of Famer today, he probably should be.
Yeah.
On any ballot. Is he a Hall of Famer or not? And certain guys do need to be reviewed later on in the ballots, but I think Eli is eventually going to get in, and I would probably vote for him. I think he might be the worst quarterback in the Hall of Fame once he gets in, which is not a bad thing to say about your career.
Yeah.
But that just is how I view it. Is he your traditional first ballot can't miss guy? Absolutely not. But his contributions to football, the way he's still so present in the game of football, along with Peyton, and the fact that he's top 15 in almost every production category in NFL history for quarterbacks, has the 2 Super Bowls, 2 incredible runs. I think that
no doubt
he's a Hall of Famer.
Listen, I gotta plan something around the Giants. I go away for the Mets a lot. There's nothing good about the organization, so at least I could do that. I'll go to Canton for that. So I've never been. So have you ever been to Canton?
No, I haven't been. That would be a cool trip though.
Well, again, there's nothing to look forward to with the New York Giants. So I need
nothing to look forward to with the Jets either. But
no, there is now. 1:00 today, man.
That's your boy is getting introduced.
Let's go. I gotta watch that. I can't wait.
I'm gonna watch it too.
Well, you better be watching it.
Sit down. I'm gonna make a couple clips, big clip episode, and then we're gonna watch
the future of the New York Jets.
Break it down. The last couple Jets pressers were no good, so we're gonna need to see these guys.
Saleh wasn't good.
Saleh was odd because he was a little nervous. You could tell he was nervous, which was fine. He said the right stuff, but he wasn't really like a convincing speaker. You could tell he was nervous, but it was on Zoom because of COVID.
Okay.
So it wasn't in person, and there was like a bunch of lag and buffering and the reporters talking over him because they couldn't time up the questions right. So it just didn't have the feel of a Joe Judge level press conference. Judge stepped in and you said, "This is the guy."
Oh, I was fully convinced.
The Judge press conference, you said, "Oh my God, they got Parcells and Belichick."
That was the best. That was one of the best press conferences I've ever seen.
That's what I need today to get me going.
Well, Glenn is not going to be nervous at the moment here. I mean, come on.
I don't think so. I think he's going to be very comfortable here. He's an alpha male. He's definitely an alpha.
Yeah, he'll be perfectly fine. You're gonna feel like great after.
You hope that Muji doesn't crap the bed here for the Jets. 39-year-old general manager. How about the Bears yesterday?
It was Muji.
It's Muji.
It's
Muji.
Darren Muji.
I thought it was Moogie also. It's Muji.
Well, I've heard it as Moogie, so that's interesting.
We're gonna find out. I've heard Muji and I've heard Moji.
Okay.
We're gonna find out today when they introduce him.
Okay.
I prefer Moogie.
That sounds more manly.
That sounds like my GM.
Yeah.
Moji. I'm like, maybe we should have reconsidered this. But anyways, how about the Bears yesterday hiring a 28-year-old offensive coordinator? I know he's not going to call any plays, but
good for him.
That's crazy. Tight end coach.
It's a big step up. Going over Davis Webb, who should be is he the quarterback coach there?
Quarterback coach there, yeah.
He's going to be he's a hot name for an offensive coordinator soon. I'll tell you that much. Davis Webb, they like him. They liked him with the Giants. They're like, he's a coach. He's going to be a coach.
Yeah.
And Peyton brought him right over.
He might be the head coach after Dable. Timeline's there.
In like 7 years after Dable's run, and he's bored of football, and he's like, I got to go to the broadcast booth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
After that.
No way. All right, we're talking Jets and Giants now, so we should wrap this up, right?
Yeah, it's a Super Bowl championship. Come on. We got no chance.
They have no place here.
I'll tell you what, I think Shador's going to be a Giant.
Yeah, that the East-West Shrine Bowl definitely lended itself to that. I heard Mel Kiper on ESPN or on NFL radio the other day on Sirius XM. No, I think it was ESPN radio. But he his pro comp. You want to take a guess who his pro? I'll give you 3 guesses who his pro comp for Shedeur Sanders was. He likes him a lot too. Like this is not his
okay.
pro comp. A retired player is his pro comp for Shedeur Sanders. It's a terrible pro comp.
Joe Flacco.
No, better
Eli.
than Flacco. Better than Eli.
I don't know. Cam.
Tom Brady. I don't even know. Didn't even know what to say.
Serious?
Yeah, he went on this whole rant about how he has the same exact play style as Brady and pocket presence as Brady.
He's very accurate. I was reading some advanced stats. Yes, he's very accurate, short, middle, very good at that. So
I have a feeling, and so much is going to change in the next couple months. I do have a feeling he's going to be the first quarterback taken, and it could be at 3.
You know what's funny? I think the Giants are trading up in some way. The Giants are not picking a 3. How about that?
You think they're that 2? I don't think Cleveland's going to. I don't think Tennessee's going to trade the pick. Maybe they will.
I think Tennessee might. Considering what the GM just said about wanting a generational talent at 1. I mean, I like the quarterbacks. I don't love them. I like Ward. I'm not obsessed with Ward. He's not a generational talent. The generational talents are the pass rusher and the free corner wide receiver. It's not the quarterback.
Yeah. I think that they have to, in order for them to trade down to 3, they have to get to a point where they're saying, we do think Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are franchise-changing playmakers. So we'll get one of them at 3.
By the way, I think I would go Abdul over Hunter.
I would go Abdul. Abdul's number 1 player in the draft.
Yeah, that guy is
easy number 1 player in the draft.
Can't miss.
Yeah. I can't wait. Draft guide, I started putting it together this weekend. So probably the Monday after the Super Bowl, we will have the first edition of the completed draft guide, which we will be really going hard on this year for the draft guide. I will be pushing the content with that. Expect a lot of top 50 prospect videos coming out with that. Burrow's Twitter now exists.
Yes.
So we are going to be starting that in a few weeks. I'm sure we're going to have an episode coming up here soon if the Alonso news unravels quickly, which doesn't feel like it is. It just feels like a spring training signing. But we will have an episode for Alonso. We will have our first couple episodes once spring training gets really ramped up. Probably, I think March will just be a full go.
Yeah.
Once March starts. Couple weeks before the season, get you ready, preview a bunch of different stuff, and we're going to be taking the show to a new level this year. Make sure to check the link tree on the Instagram bio for BTO Media. It has all of the new platforms that we're doing stuff on for the Burrows, with the Spotify, with the Apple Podcasts, with the Twitter, with everything you need to see. And
YouTube.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll have a Sunday recap before Super Bowl Monday, and we'll recap that and really the entire offseason, or entire season, preview the offseason. Maybe we'll have one next week. I'll be in New Orleans for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep.
Maybe we'll do something live from there, but we'll see. So just stay tuned for that. And
very nice.
Yeah, a lot going on in the world of BTO. So we will catch you after the Super Bowl at the latest. See you in between somewhere, though. Hardline this week?
Hardline this week. We'll be out Thursday with that. Record Wednesday, out Thursday. The football season's over, I mean, it's it. Like last week was the real last game. Now the Super Bowl's a production and it's everything. So, the real football fan, it's done. But enjoy New Orleans. That's gonna be great. Talk to Saquon for me, let him know, what's up. And
I'll chat him up for you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks, if not earlier.